Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 42 of the Purple Hyacinth podcast on the Story Tinker. And we are here with Emily and Saucy, who are
Hi.
represented by a character that is not within this story, but is appropriate and ever present in some people's minds.
Yes, wrong fandom, but still great. Cool.
Why not? Yeah.
All right. So we begin this episode with Lauren's reaction to learning what we were introduced to last time, which is what we're going to read about. He murdered all of Loon's convicts, Anslow, McTrevor, Blixey, and Colton. And Will or Kim, I forgot, is sticking the newspaper in Lauren's face. Lauren looks absolutely aghast. They were the only prisoners killed, and like a billion guards, but whatever. And Lauren is just completely in shock, grabs the newspaper, looks at it. You know, we have the headline, dozens of prison guards and all of Loon's convicts slaughtered. Purple Hyacinth has struck again. Shizzle. And she's shaking. And
the music that accompanies this is fantastic, because in the previous episode it ends with like a very escalated, like that do do do, like you're like really getting into it and you're realizing what's happening and everyone's freaking out and the anxiety is up, and then you cut, if you're able to read this one after the other, you get to this like very dramatic, like it's no longer amped up, it's now just like the crowd is happening, like you're almost back in reality and you're just like, she's freaking out while there's just background noise of people everywhere, and it really breaks everything up like very effectively, like you're just panicking with her in a crowd.
Ooh. Oh my goodness. Yeah, they ask her, Lauren, are you okay? But she doesn't even respond. She just, pushes the newspaper back into her face. And she flashes back to a panel, which we, well, this one is from the year 20.
No, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, it's from somewhere. And he says, I kill only, I think it is because it's prime partner and they asked about this. Yes, 28. I kill only when I'm ordered to or when it's the only solution. So she knows that pretty much he had to do this. It was an order, right? From the Phantom site, it makes sense that they would want to kill all those people, before any information or any more information is gotten out of them. And then she flashes back to when he killed for her, right? To prevent her from being killed. After the Blakesley, had her ninjas follow them. And again, we're flashback to the present. She's starting to get angry. And she flashes back to like the recent encounter. This was this morning, she was in his house this morning and he didn't say anything. And then she flashes back to a little bit of an earlier episode 30, which we found out thanks to some detective people on Discord. I guess we're even now. And a smile. So she's thinking back to older positive interactions and the trust that she thought that they had together, which he completely broke.
Yeah, it's very upsetting. Like she goes from like bliss. Like you look at that one picture of like her smiling. Where is it from this morning? Well, actually I reread it earlier today, so it's not in here. But where she's just happy with him. Like she's like looking at him and like seeing him in a very different light. Seeing him as like a human, and this breaks that. Like you can hear like the glass shatter. It's like where like she's questioning everything now. Like he killed for her. She started believing that like he actually felt bad about these things, that he actually had a soul, and all of a sudden that's gone. Like she no longer believes that at all. It's completely just crashed.
Yeah, the last flashback that she has shows yet another reason why she's so aggrieved. Name of convict Harry Anslow, number of convict, which is her plan to visit Anslow to get more answers as to what was in that picture. So this adds another layer. It's a personal loss for her because she now won't be able to question him and get answers to the mystery of her parents' death. Well, she didn't know it was a mystery. She thought it was, normal. But
the setup of these panels is what's really cool. They're like disjointed. They're fuzzy. They're slanted, they're like stacked on top of each other, like they're not clean cut. It's like almost like you can actually feel her anxiety in the way that the comic is actually like designed.
Like the thoughts are just rushing in. She's not really thinking about them. It's just overwhelming her. And she goes, and that's the end of that scene with Lauren. And now we switch settings to the palace. We hear rumbling and we see Dakan coming to the podium that is on the balcony, and the crowd is outside. Everyone is gathered and they're making a lot of noise and being upset. And Dakan goes, "People of Ardhalis, thank you for gathering here today. His Majesty, the King Philip, wishes to share some words on this dark day." And the door opens, and King Philip and Queen Elizabeth, and that boy's name is Anthony, I think.
No, I actually don't know it. I don't think we don't know it at this point. I'm pretty sure, at least.
I don't think it's mentioned in the comic anywhere, but people asked Ephemeris on Discord, and she gave him a name like on the spot. So I think it's something with an A. Arthur. It's Arthur. So yeah. And King Philip steps up to the plate. He's looking extremely stern. And we hear, it's a lot of long lines while he picks up his hand and calls for silence. And indeed, he gets silence. And then he speaks, and he has a very emphatic expression on his face, serious. He says, "Last night, the Tower of Ardhalis was the scene of a terrible tragedy orchestrated by the Phantom Scythe. Dozens of guards and several convicts were brutally murdered by one of their assassins." And we see the corpses, and some of whom probably paid $15 to get their face drawn in to the cameo. The man behind these crimes is none other than, and he clenches his fist, so clearly he's angry, the Purple Hyacinth. And everyone's faces are shocked. Not that they should be, because he's kind of known to be capable. And once again, the noble emblem of our ancient family, the Avisters, hyacinths, graceful flowers. You see it sunken in a pool of blood, but poisonous for anyone who tries to bruise them, has been tainted by the blood of his victims. So this is an interesting detail that we have within the story, because we always look up the flower meanings of the various flowers that appear on Google, but this is specifically pointed out in the story. So I have my theory about what it means, but I'd like to hear yours.
Do you want to go first, Saucy?
Well, the point that stood out to me in this scene was that it seems like he cares more about the family symbol and how it's being used in this situation than the actual people in front of him or the people that have been killed in the tower. It's like of all the things he's ticked off about, the greatest offense to him is the use of his flower.
I would definitely agree. He doesn't really seem all that banged up about it, other than his affront. But so I'm not a tinfoiler. In all of my fandoms, I'm not into guessing, like this person is the secret son of something, or like, this missing character is 100% this person. Like, I like to have like facts before I make anything. I like to be right, damn it. So I'm not going to make anything if I'm not right. But when it comes to the flower, I like the meaning of, at least, so I think it's a good symbol for royalty in general, because it's like, anyone who tries to hurt us, like you will be taken down from that. Like you try to crush us, we will crush you, kind of situation. So I think that's kind of what that that might mean for the king. What that means for Kieran, I know there's like a lot of theories out there as to like who he actually is or what his connection is to the royal family or to anyone else. But I think it works for him too, because he's definitely a tough little flower. I think he 100% gives back what is given to him. So I think it's just a really amazing symbolic flower for all around. What is your theory though? Now I'm curious.
You said exactly the theory,
Okay.
Both of them. So that's great. I just will say, I know for me, like when I think of a royal symbol, I don't think of it as representing just the family. I think of it as representing the whole country. So when he says, "Oh, we'll hurt," basically it'll hurt anyone who hurts us, I think especially given what he says next is like he's trying to communicate that whoever tries to hurt our country is going to be hurt. But again, I said it on this podcast before, like I have a positive bias towards monarchy because my husband's very pro monarchy. Although I've realized in the context of the story that the monarchy is set up to be the bad guy, I happen to think that King Philip is more like a puppet in the hands of Queen Elizabeth. So I have no grudges against Philip personally, because as far as I can tell so far in the story, he's portrayed as being relatively neutral, kind of trying to do the right thing and really controlled by Queen Elizabeth and guided by Dakan. So I don't have any negative thoughts about Philip, except for maybe that he should maybe
Are there
werewolves.
any ideas about the fact that the other royal symbol is the deer or the stag?
I think we discussed it when the symbol first came along. And I don't remember what we said, so I'm gonna do a Google search.
Do you have any theories, Saucy?
Yeah,
I was
shooting
just
this
curious when I saw the juxtaposition of the two flowers and the stag on the royal crest.
Maybe that they're both things that are docile, but can also be lethal. A flower is lethal, but when you crush it, it's gonna hurt you. And deer looks all pretty and prancy, and then it spears you right in the gut.
There's that.
A white stag can symbolize purity, innocence. I think it is a white stag, but there's a lot of things it symbolizes that don't necessarily. I don't see a connection to the story. As of now, at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were mentioning theory. So I actually I have this whole long theory based on the book that is mentioned in 38. The Man Who Laughs. Which,
when she's pulling out Kieran's books in his apartment.
yeah, I'm actually
Okay.
recording that podcast right after this one. So I'm going to talk about the theory there. And plus I have like a longer video where I'm talking about that.
We'll
But
have to listen.
yeah, so that theory, it does connect Kieran to the royalty, and possibly that little boy Arthur. But anywho, so we'll just say that. No need to repeat what's going to be said in about an hour. So to continue, he says, leader is sending us a message, but we shall not let ourselves be intimidated. We will not show fear in front of these criminals. Measures will be taken to stop this individual from terrorizing our palace. Police presence will be reinforced at night, spreading out his arms. However, you are advised to stay in your homes after dark and to always travel in pairs. If you ever catch sight of the Purple Hyacinth, do not try to approach him. Get away and call the police immediately. And yes, what did Lauren not do? We transfer back to Kim and Will. Kim's like, oh, I can already smell the night shifts, bruh.
Which I love. So it's not even like, it's not fourth wall breaking exactly, but it's just like, it's relatable. Like all of us are just like, in our day jobs, I'm sure like if we tell someone about something serious, people on the outside would be like, oh my God, like that's horrible. Like think about all the repercussions. And really you're just like, I'm just seeing overtime and like underpaid, like stress. And that's what we see from like their little vignette.
It was a weird little PSA, if you ask me. I mean,
The Kings?
well, yeah, I mean, everybody's been looking for the Purple Hyacinth in every nook and cranny of the city forever. But, if you happen to see him walking down the street, back slowly away. I mean, like, okay, maybe, I don't know. It
So
just
when I was rereading, because I remember we talked, Saucy and I had talked about this really quick last week. But I had yet to finish rereading all of it again. And I just remember seeing the king talking to his wife and to Dakan about, she mentions how like he got rid of the death penalty. So like when he talks about like raising a bounty and like a life sentence in jail, like when I was first reading this, I'm like, wow, that's like really not that strict. Like it's not very scary. Like I threatened to put you in jail. Like of course, like something more drastic seems more appropriate for someone who is of the Purple Hyacinth's, notoriety. But I had a point to this, and it is now completely gone from my head. What was Saucy just saying? My brain is already. What were you just saying? Oh, how it was a weird PSA. It'll come to me. Keep going. It'll pop back in my brain.
what did pin in all this fog too?
The
Like,
fog was really symbolic.
From the beginning, it's been pretty foggy. So just like stick a pin in that. We'll come back to it.
Mm-hmm. Keep going. This will pop in my head like when we're at the end of the chapter.
Right. So he's got a life sentence in jail awaits him and any person suspected of helping him. There's a lot of people on the streets. It's very well. I like the setting. And of course, when he says and anyone suspected of helping him, we switch to Lauren, who is just looking on the ground because, yeah, you're the one helping him, girl. So, I mean, she's recognizing the severe consequences of her actions and really wondering, like, was it something, was it worth it? Was it a good decision given what just happened?
So I do remember what I was going to say before, but it's kind of, I don't know if people are listening to this in order, it's a little bit spoilery. But we learn later something about the leader's inactivity. Actually, we kind of know. We've heard about it too from the plot. So the leader is not moving as fast and doing as as many drastic things as I think a lot of the members want him to. So I thought there was a really interesting parallel between the king de-escalating, life sentence, death penalties, and like really caring about like the people in general. He's not like his father. He is worrying about the actual people that he's ruling. And it seems like the leader is kind of not acting as viciously anymore, maybe because he doesn't see as much of something to fight against anymore. I'm really curious about that change and the disgruntled underlings in the Phantom Scythe now, because they seem to be linked, the king's actions and those kind of orders. So that was what I was thinking before.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
I mean,
so
I'm still like mad curious about who the leader is. So far, my theory is that Queen Elizabeth has something to do with it. I don't think she's the leader necessarily, but I think she's kind of behind the leader. My theory is that she had King Edward assassinated so that she could be in control because she knew that King Philip was a pushover. So
but people were
yeah,
disgruntled under him, correct? Like he wasn't. Oh my god, so cute.
that baby Kieran. Oh, who drew that?
Yeah, he went through a Snapchat filter. And now
I was gonna say it looks like a Snapchat
anime chibi Kieran.
I love it.
So cute.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like there's something weird going on in both the monarchy side. Like this whole conversation is weird. Like I don't know. The PSA seems off, and then the counter side of the Phantom Scythe leader not really doing, is being as ruthless as people want. I just feel like there's something there, and we just don't know it yet.
To be clear, I thought the PSA was kind of cute, so I wasn't like dissing the PSA.
Cute. I don't. It just seems
Anyways.
like that's what I'm looking for. Not even such a.
It just reminded me of all the mask wearing PSAs. I don't know. I just was in a mood when I read it, but yeah.
It definitely feels very masky.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things up with the monarchy. Clearly, I mean, even more comes up in later episodes too.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much backstory.
Okay, well, back on topic.
Yeah.
Lauren is freaking out.
Topic. So now we get a view of, it seems, the speech is over. We have a view of the building and the APD people walking back. And Kim says, I just can't wrap my mind around the fact that he managed to enter the tower. Did he fly there? It's basically the only way he could have made it to the 15th floor alive. And Lucas says, you forgot the fact that he murdered all the guards on his way up. Whew. Yeah, that is a level. It was a massacre, a bloodbath. The prisoners are scared to death, even though the only inmates he killed were loons, collars, convicts, collars.
Yeah.
People collared. Is that I'm
not sure. I read that and I was wondering too. I think it's just a term I'm not familiar with.
Maybe it's used in French. It's expression used in French because I know they're from French speaking. Well, Quebec. So, and then Lauren's lagging behind while Kim says, is that every person they expose going to meet the same fate? Which is, of course, this is like all their work of the last couple of months is just down the drain, like literally. So, and Lauren is just.
And it makes her question the further relationship. If she continues working with him, is every person they put away going to be killed by him? Like, it is a serious wake-up call for who she used to think he was and who he really is in her mind at this moment.
She's going back and forth between, in that, as you mentioned in the flashback, those moments were the moments where he was most human to her, his humanity. He's eating an apple, he's in his kitchen, he's got his little soft shirt on, and they're having a conversation, and he's just a guy. But so the first one is he's the monster, and then he's a human, and now he's the monster again, and it's this sort of dichotomy that she's struggling with.
Yeah, and she probably feels responsible for their deaths. Like, she may not think they're good people, but I don't think she wants their blood on her hands either. And if anyone that they capture is going to be killed, I'm sure that disturbs her. Plus, obviously, all the guards that were killed along the way.
And Harvey's death is fresh right now, too. So, like, she's dealing with a lot of death at the moment.
And I was kind of fascinated by the weather in this little interlude. Like, in that, right as you're coming off, you kind of see that bright spot on that building. And I was like, what is that about? Is that like a last ray of sun as the sun's setting? And it seemed to me that the lighting was looking more clear, the shadows sharper and the brights brighter, as if you know how sometimes when it's getting towards the end of evening and the sun's dropping and it kind of goes below the clouds and then suddenly it's lighter right before it gets dark. It just felt, I was just all into the weather in this. And I thought the fog was kind of lifting, but then you get, when he's talking about the shift is over, you sure don't want to come with it. The fog is quite thick in those couple panels. But then the weather's about to change too.
Right. And like the fog, obviously, like, okay, the fact that it's gray, that shows it's like a serious moment. And fog, you know, indicates confusion, lack of clarity, which is definitely what Lauren is experiencing.
Yeah, that's perfect for this.
Mhm.
Also, so this next section where you know they do say, you know, Lauren, you're not coming. She says, "Oh, sorry guys, I'm feeling a little bit sick. I'm probably coming down with something. Is it okay if I go home, Lieutenant?" And she has this like forced smile on her face. And he says, you know, sure. You sure you don't want me to come with you? And this reminds me of, and I don't remember the episode, but it was when Lauren noticed Will in a similar state of unease, and she questioned him, and he said, you know, like, it's fine, I'll handle it, or something along those lines. And then it went back, and it's the same smile, like obviously a fake plastered smile. And then it went back to like when he was like, they were working together, getting, you know, whatever their certification or whatever it is for police officers, like, it's okay, I'll handle it. And then it was his kids and he's smiling, it's okay, I'll handle it. And it like went back in time. And it seems like this was another connection between two friends who obviously know each other really well. Like, she knew he was lying, or she knew he never lies. She knew that he was just not telling her the whole truth there when he said, it's fine, I'll handle it. The same thing is happening here, where he sees like she's not okay. Because she says, yes, no need, it's probably nothing serious. And he's still looking like, I know she's not, like, something's not right here. So it was a really cute connection for their friendship.
So what I see as the difference, though, is that Will actually said the truth. He said I'm fine, which admittedly is not the truth, but it's the truth for him because he, you know, makes everything fine in his head. But the second part, I'll handle it, right? That's acknowledging that, you know, I just want to handle it on my own. I'm not going to talk about it. But Lauren just flat out lies. Like, she says I'm not feeling well.
Which is funny considering.
It's ironic because she is the truth seer, ostensibly. But she clearly is not the truth teller. And that was something that perturbed her as soon as she took the deal. You know, I'm going to have to lie to my friends. She also, I think, maybe a little, I don't know if I don't think she's a good liar at all. I think because in general, she's like a blunt force. I'm surprised, honestly, that she lies. Like, I don't know, my policy in life is always like, truth is the best tactic. I just don't get people who lie, but so I just don't think it ever works. So I'm like surprised that she doesn't figure out like a way of saying the truth, or like, I don't feel like coming with you now. Like, I don't know, something like that. Where it's like, not exactly, you know, I don't feel up to it now. So it's not saying I'm sick, but it's saying the truth, right? So anyway.
Yeah, she deliberately chose a lie over an equally as effective, because they're still going to be suspicious of her in this moment. They know her well enough to know, like, that's weird. So she could have chosen her words better, and she chose not to.
Yeah, but hold the phone. Since that first moment where she looked at the newspaper and realized she's not going to see Anslow and realized that her human partner is a monster, she could have been fighting back nausea this whole time.
True.
That's a gut punch.
I think, yeah, and I think we're going to get to that soon, but you're right. I don't think her mental state isn't just he killed a bunch of people last night. He killed a lot of people that she helped take down. It's selfish reasons too, which I think we'll talk about like soon as she's starting to get agitated right now. She's left and she's in, she's about to be full on angry Lauren.
So yeah, and that's what happens. She, she goes away. Oh, sorry, Saucy.
Technically, she doesn't say, "Oh, I'm going to go home now." She says, "Is it okay if I go home?" Which isn't technically a lie either.
But she says she's sick. Oh, I guess I see your point. Meaning, if she's feeling sick or whatever, she said, "I'm feeling a little bit sick." Yeah, that's true.
All of this could be strictly truthful.
That's true. I didn't think of it that way. Yeah. Defender of Lauren.
So she starts walking away and it starts raining, just to add to the drama, because a proper dramatic scene must always have rain in it.
Wait, hold the phone, but it's the confusion is gone now, because if none of this fog, now we're having the rain. So now the emotions are coming in. She's kind of gotten focused and out of her, what do I feel about this? She knows what she feels. She's furious and she's betrayed and she's hurt and here comes, rain is, to me, rain is always that emotion just coming down on top of you.
And in a weird way, so I don't always think of rain as clarity, because sometimes it's it's overcast, it's dark, but it does have clarifying properties, cleansing. Sometimes it's like a baptism, sometimes it's washing away other bad things. In this case, it almost seems like it's washing away the confusion. Like it's not it's clarity in a way that like the water is finally broken, the fog is gone, the humidity is gone. Now it's just like cold, like deliberate rain. And so it's a different kind of mental clarity that turns into a downpour of emotion.
Exactly, because you could have a soft fuzzy rain, but look, you've got a drip, and then you've got a couple drips, and suddenly there's so much water, she's splashing in it, running. So you're, like you said, it's a downpour.
Yeah. And as she's running, Saucy, you mentioned this the other day when we were talking too, she goes from her like deliberate about to run, it starts to rain, she's still in police mode, and then she yanks off that mask, and it's kind of like it's not police Lauren anymore. This is where I think it goes from total shock, the death, all the things that have gone wrong. I think at this moment when she takes that mask off, that's, in my mind, that's her moment where it's not everything anymore. This is personal. Like she wanted to talk to Harry Anslow. Like she had a plan. She has her own priorities on top of all the other things. And now she's no longer in, I'm trying to take down the Phantom Scythe, with my partner kind of situation. She's just pissed. She's really angry.
And I mean, I think this is layers of symbolism, because you've got the rain, you've got her pulling her mask off, and then as she crunches into the woods here, crack, snap, crash. When they first went into the waterfall, that scene, they were walking on a path. I mean, not maybe all the way through, but they weren't like through the underbrush. But here she is, the very first time, yeah. I can't remember what episode, but anyways, here she is, just like having to smash and physically burst through this tangle to get to him, and I think that's a symbolism as well.
Yeah, and when she takes the mask off, she's not only becoming like a person, not a police officer, but she is also last time she was definitely masking her feelings with talking to Kieran Will. So now her feelings are clear. She is angry.
Masking her feelings. I love that.
Nice.
Yeah, so she runs, she starts running, she runs in the forest, and like you said, cracking through everything. And she, obviously there's water streaming down her face, which always is reminiscent of tears. So Lauren doesn't strike me as the crying type. She turns to anger rather than sadness, but pretty sure, those two feelings are like flip sides of the same coin, I think.
Yeah, I angry cry all the time. If I have one or the other, they're gonna swap back and forth real quick.
This is really true. Anyway, but also irrelevant. So so she approaches the cave, and she's just run straight in. She bangs open the bars, which presumably he left unlocked. Okay.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
We were like, there's an interesting parallel here, because he broke into the jail as a monster to to carry out the Scythe's orders and kill those guys. Here she is breaking, not breaking in, but pushing aside this gate of bars and coming into the cave. But go ahead, continue. You see him with the book.
I think he left it open. It seems like he was expecting her. That's why I think he left it unlocked. He knew.
Rocking chair.
Yeah. I have to say, a man with a book is very endearing.
I'm sure it's poetry, right?
It's got to be something intellectual.
Bedtime stories, Aesop's fables,
webtoons in print form.
Something super peaceful.
Right. And that's the paradox of Kieran, because I honestly think if he hadn't been an assassin, if he hadn't been whatever happened to him in his youth that made him be what he is, he seems to be intellectual. He probably would still have his sense of humor and, you know, his teasingness, but I think he's a genuinely really good person and emotional and passionate. And obviously that's the tragedy of someone like him, is that his environment made him something that he doesn't want to be, and so into really a terrible, someone who commits terrible acts. But this is like the person that probably he would want to be if he didn't have to, you know, be an assassin.
I'm saying it's a first edition of the Velveteen Rabbit.
You are really into what book this is. We need to figure it out.
But like this is, to me, is the coolest 2 or 3 panels of this whole thing. So here he is, he's in his rocking chair, he's like all like perfectly coiffed with his little ascot, and his hair's back, and he's reading a book, and he's just got his ankles crossed. He could not be more domestic looking if he had like little 5-year-olds all around him getting read to, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
And you zoom in, wicked look.
But before we even get to the wicked look, I think the expression on his face when he's sitting in the rocking chair, I think it's trepidatious. I think he is bracing himself for putting on his own mask, which is the next panel. But I think this is more of his genuine self, where he is.
Mindy, you
are
are
so perfect, Mindy. So perfect.
I love Kieran so much, and I'm so happy
himself.
to analyze his facial expressions with you guys, which it's our specialty, micro-analyzing micro expressions, as we like to say with Lily's work. But I believe it to be present here because he doesn't want to be this person. And Lauren is the person that he, up till now, has let most into his life that we know of. And now he has to take the small budding relationship that was just starting to develop with somebody who he liked and someone who treated him like a human being. We don't think he has anyone else in his life so far that we know of. And now he's going to have to break that with her. And he's, you know, that expression first is like kind of building himself up for the storm. And the next panel, that's when he flips on the switch and he's like, okay, I'm putting on my defense mechanism. I'm putting on my caricature. I'm a heartless assassin. I don't care about anything. I'm going to be flippant. I'm going to pretend this doesn't matter. And that's why he puts on that, you know, classic Kieran smirk. But I think it's all
like
an act.
Devil may care kind of.
Indeed, that was beautiful.
I know.
But then the next panel, show that one. Put that to the camera.
She's like a dragon.
Who's the monster now? Look at her. She's drawn as that monster that she is. You know what I mean? Here she comes. Oof. I mean,
yeah, she looks like a fire. She's got that, it's cold. So she's got that, like her breath is actually coming out of her mouth. She looks like a monster. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, she looks like everything she's afraid that Kieran is, or that is, you know, enraged that Kieran is now. It's terrifying. We've never seen her look like that. Never. She been presented like that.
The build up to that reveal of her face is epic too, because so like the panels zoom in, like the authors are showing us what to focus on. It's her foot coming in, like then just her torso with the gun highlighted and her jacket pulled off, and then her boot crunching on the ground and rocks scattering, and then just the back of her. You get Kieran and you get her face. Like it's like a very slow reveal of like tension and like what is she actually feeling. You understand from all that context that she's upset, but then when you see her actual face, it's like, oh, okay, I didn't realize she was like even that upset. Like she's pissed.
Yeah, it's masterful. And then the background too. Starting in the forest, it goes to black. So we're not in a memory here, where I think that's kind of representing the darkness in her right now, her mood as she's tearing in there. Because it starts outside the cave. It's not just the blackness of being in the cave. So good.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, like his chair seems to be positioned right in front of the bars. It's another reason I thought he was expecting her. He's not, he's facing directly when she comes in. I think that he situated himself there knowing she was going to come. Because Kieran understands her personality. Like it or not, the two of them have very similar personalities.
I mean, I think that's spot on, that he knows she's coming.
He literally prepared himself. Like, look at him. He looks fine. Like he went to battle with his sophistication. He was like, I'm gonna look like an intellectual badass when she barges in here looking all covered in rain and enraged, and he's just gonna be cool as a cucumber reading his first edition of Velveteen Rabbit. Canon now.
Also his comfort, his comfort outfit slash, if you like, it's maybe the equivalent of putting on sweatpants and eating ice cream, watching your favorite movie, to emotionally gird himself for what's going to happen.
All he's missing is those cute little glasses on my icon here.
You're right.
I'm all about the glasses today.
Do you notice the lighting too? So like there's literally a spotlight positioned behind Kieran. It's like he was like, I know she's gonna be barging through these bars in like 5 seconds. I'm gonna like pivot this spotlight directly behind me. So when she walks in, she's gonna look absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, well, we do know he is a drama king, so it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, what a perfect setup for the next episode, which is, of course,
Epic.
Mm-hmm.
Well known.
The whole this whole thing was basically foreplay for the next episode. Like she was like teasing us this whole time, being like, yeah, everyone get really angry, and then bam.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Lauren's journey from that moment of shock to the moment of confrontation.
Mm-hmm. And you know how they always say that like your imaginings are often worse. Like people will often fret about a confrontation, or like they'll play out all these ideas in their head, and like your anger is like usually so much worse, and then you get there and it's not that bad. That's not the case here. That did not play out that way. This was worse than probably what she was going to be expecting. So
What's fun too is that, I mean, there's a lot of webtoons that kind of cut back and forth to sort of relieve audience tension or whatever, get different plot lines in. In this episode, I mean, yeah, you get the king's speech, but that doesn't really interrupt the timeline or take us to a different, she's there listening to the king's speech, freaking out the whole time. So it's kind of like this winch where there's like, I'm just thinking of this big thick wire cable that's, the winch is slowly turning and the tension is going, you don't get a break. You don't cut away to see what, Joe Schmo's doing down the road. It's unrelenting, the gradual increase in tension until that final moment. And I think that's so powerful. I really like this episode, actually.
There is a reason this is not a romance. There is. So
are you sure about that?
Pretty damn
Wash
sure.
your mouth out with soap right now, Emily.
I'm not saying there are not romantic elements, but it is a drama. This is 100% a drama. And just the way that Midnight Poppyland is not a drama, it is a romance has a lot of drama in it. Like these are two sides of the coin, like mafia romance versus assassin police romance. Like these, they're very different. And what are you gonna say, Saucy?
No, nothing. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like the techniques that each authors employ mimic what their genre is. Like they if you look at like the characters and like the fandoms, honestly, they overlap a decent amount, probably because we all like dark, broody, past men and like strong women, however their strength may come out. But we you see the difference. There's a reason that the Purple Hyacinth is tension, fandom dies, comes back to life, keeps being in tension, and then finally we get some kind of resolution a little bit, and then probably tension's gonna happen again soon. Whereas Midnight Poppyland is like bounce, like a little bit joke right here, relieve, like audience gets a kiss, then all of a sudden sirens are blaring. Like it's all over the place because it's not made to stress us out. It's made to be a romance.
My comment was not an implied criticism of Midnight Poppyland.
Oh no. And that's not a criticism. I like it's made for a different reason. Like I think that's a good thing. I think that should, like, both authors are doing what they should do for their genre. I didn't take it as a critique. I took it as just a difference in genre. Like I don't want that to be full tension. I want Purple Hyacinth to be full tension. It's just they're done, I think, in the way they're both supposed to be done.
Yep. So much so, by the way, that I think the fandom is probably equally divided on whether Lauren and Kieran are even going to end up in a romantic relationship, besides for the fact that half of the people think Kieran's going to die at the end. Cursed theories, but you know, and even I don't even know if they're going to end up in a romantic relationship. I'm like the biggest romantic ever and super optimistic, but I fully expect the story to A, break our hearts, and B, I also don't think the authors are that into romance. So
I'm not putting any, no, it's a lie. I was saying I'm not putting any emotional stock into this, but I 100% am. I'm like, I know I'm not going to count on anything, because if I start hoping, it'll hurt a lot, and it's already hurt a lot. So
Secret to Life, one of my very good friends, her classic line is, the secret to life is low expectations.
yes. I'm gonna expect everyone to die, so that if someone makes it out, I'm gonna be like, oh, it's not so bad.
Yeah. So do you guys have closing thoughts on this episode?
Well, I think I gave mine. I really like it.
Yeah, no, I'm good. This was just, it was epic,
Mhm.
and it's leading into even more. The whole thing is leading into more epic.
Perfect lead in. You know what it reminds me of is when those ramps or whatever, when you're doing Evel Knievel, or you're going down this ramp and you're accelerating, and then you're like, you shoot off into space. It's just such a acceleration episode into the crisis of the next episode.
It's a ramp. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, I love it. I am nervous and scared for the next episode. We all know what's gonna happen, but yeah, it's a doozy. And this, yeah, I agree. This is the perfect build up. Well, thank you so much, Emily and Saucy, for coming on. I'm so happy that we got to do a Purple Hyacinth episode together.
Yeah,
And
me
that's
too.
great. I do hope you come on again.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. This was great.